and we make our own contribution. In South Africa, we found ourselves again and again referring to Ubuntu. I'm a person because you're a person. I can't separate my humanity from acknowledging your humanity. I enrich my humanity by acknowledging your humanity. I'm not in competition with you. I have my own space, my own independence. And interestingly enough, Roy, I found a Canadian judge who was saying the same things, but in a completely different format. Charles Gontier was speaking. Now he is Catholic, family-oriented, Quebec, French common law background. Albie, very secular, internationalist, Cape Town, British common law, and Roman Dutch common law background. And we're saying the same things. It's human interdependence. The importance of community not as something hegemonic that oppresses and demands obedience, but as the nurturing context in which we develop and express our individuality. And we've had to actually develop a philosophy of jurisprudence that takes account of the deep traditional African values of Ubuntu, not to fight against our Bill of Rights, but to strengthen our Bill of Rights. And that's also something that we're offering to the world.
Ravi is going to ask a question. Ravi actually learned as a scholar of the South African Constitution.
and so go ahead, Ravi. No, I wonder if a couple comments. I mean, I wonder if you get your living customary, tradition from our living tree, of course, from our Constitution. But I'm hearing you talk. I mean, one of the favorite features of the Constitutional Court that I have is that it really requires you to look at what's going on around the world in other courts, because of course other constitutional courts and Supreme Courts don't have that requirement. So I think that was one of those brilliant things about it. But the thing I'm interested in is the part that was the more progressive part of your Constitution that none of our constitutions have, which is this focus on economic rights, which is really unusual, and it really, I think, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, does it not potentially constrain the ability of the electorate to vote for a far right-wing party? We're used to constitutions protecting minority rights, but we're not used to constitutions saying, look, I don't care what party you elect, people have to have the right to water, the right to basic essentials of life. So where does that come from? And how is it sort of been received around the world?
Well, it's catching on. And Latin America, very powerfully, and there's marvelous judges there. And it's not, these things to some extent historically conditioned. This is a generation after the military dictatorships. And so that would put the focus very much on civil political rights against torture, disappearances. But it's also public awareness and a feeling that, okay, we're getting rid of the military dictatorship, but millions of people are poor, they're starving, they're hungry, they're dying of preventable diseases, and we want the change to go beyond simply getting rid of the negatives. And so there's that whole generation, very, very socially aware. They're the judges now, the top judges. And some people think they're actually going too far. And I've never been called conservative in my life, or not even moderate. And I must say, in our struggle days, the moderates were the people who were working with the white regime. So we hated the word moderate, and suddenly now I discover I'm a conservative judge because we want social economic rights, but very carefully tailored, not to put too much strain on the budgets, not to interfere too much with discretion. In Brazil and Colombia and Mexico, the judges are ordering that you must give medicine to that person, you must find a hospital bed for that person. In event, so the world in that sense is changing. We're not in a tiny minority anymore. We have to work very hard on getting the right balance. It's not automatic. You can't order the government to give everybody a home or hospital bed. You can order it, but it's not going to get anywhere. So we used the concept of reasonableness, which is in the text of our Constitution. The state should take reasonable legislative and other measures progressively to realize the rights. And we said judges deal with reasonableness all the time. Reasonableness is contextual, whether it's self-defense, for example, negligent driving, and it's proportionality into it. And they know better. What do I know about building houses? I'm very, very little. I don't even have the competence, let alone the democratic legitimacy of making those decisions. I do know about human dignity. The rains are coming, they've got nowhere to go. And a wonderful housing program to deal with emergency situations, we can point that out, and we do. If the government is various reasons at a certain stage shown a reluctance to recognize that the HIV virus actually exists and is slow in rolling out the ARVs, people come to our court and they say nevirapine will cut the transmission of HIV by about 50%. It's been provided free for 5 years, it's safe, but you're limiting it to 2 sites in each of the 9 provinces to get logistical administrative experience. We said that's unreasonable. It turned the whole thing around, and now we have the biggest ARV program in the world. The court intervening because it's dramatic. We developed in many cases dealing with evictions. Evictions, you get the tensions of modern society often at their greatest. You want to develop. It might be a dam. Dams up in there's people there, they've been there for a millennium. And now get out. The dam is for the whole nation. Your culture goes, your language goes, your land rights go. Or evictions now in the center of Johannesburg. Big, once beautiful buildings, jam-packed with people, desperately poor. The lights have been switched off, the water's switched off. It's unhealthy to live there, but they say we've got nowhere else to go. The council says, get out. We say, why should the poor bear the whole burden of development? We're not against development. We don't feel it's right that the centre of our cities should be blighted like that. It's not right. It's undignified. It's in all sorts of ways, and people shouldn't be living like that. But if you want these people to get out, you must find alternative accommodation. And that's the balancing way. And we introduced the notion of meaningful engagement. That sometimes you can't decide an issue like that purely on land law, given the history in South Africa. So the parties have to engage with each other, to report back to the court, ensuring that whatever solution is found, there will be some dignified outcome for the desperately poor people, not far away in the bush somewhere, which is what the government, the council was saying, but close to their places of work. Something of that kind. So you're humanizing the law all the time. And that has been a very profound aspect of the work that we've been doing. Now, William Atunga, to answer your question very directly, in justifying social and economic rights, he said a Bill of Rights, generally, in terms of civil political rights, deals with deficits in the representative democracy system. If you could rely simply on representative democracy, you don't need a Bill of Rights. So fundamental rights in that sense are very much there for the vulnerable, the non-popular, the politically not very powerful, because you have a notion that every human being is entitled to certain minimum. But he said social and economic rights deal with the deficits in the market. They're there to deal, and that would be the answer to, if you like. And we did have many people adopting very conservative economic philosophy positions, arguing against social and economic rights in our Constitution.
Interesting.
I know we're just past 1:30, and we sort of set a 1:30 hard stop for a couple of reasons. So if you need to slip out, please do so. If you